Hey guys, welcome to Sun Vibes, where you get to discover your true authentic self. I'm your host, Ayasha Roberson, and it is a new year. Happy New Year to everyone. And this is the show that helps you really figure out your true authentic self, like I just said. And as we're in this new year, I want to take some time out to explain what should be your new direction, your new beginning, your new journey in this new year. Everything is about newness when we walk into a new year. When we enter a new chapter in our life, whether it's a new year or not, we feel this newness, we feel this refreshness, we feel this rejuvenation about ourselves and our lives. And we just think clearly. We are able to understand life a little bit better than what we were not able to understand maybe a couple months ago, even a couple years ago. But each phase of our life is always a new chapter, starting with newness. I believe a lot of people don't really enter into these new chapters of newness with inside their lives because of the fact that they're maybe stuck in whatever situation they may be stuck in. And it's hard for them to get to that next stage of their life. It's like if you're doing the same thing, but you want different results. It's like, I want to lose weight, but I'm going to continue to eat and not work out and not pay attention to what I put in my body and my diet, which is going to be reflected on my health, overall well being, and of course, increase weight. So, if you want to start off the new year doing something new, you have to sometimes do things differently. And this is just a suggestion, a recommendation. You don't have to do the things that I'm recommending. But if you're ready for this message, maybe some of the things in this message will resonate with you in this new year. I know I'm still reflecting on 2022, where even when I was back in 2022, I was talking a lot about 2023. But just taking this show for Sun Vibes, for instance, it actually was something that resurrected out of my blog called Sat Your Day. And it took me a while to really get a blog that really spoke to the things that I felt like it would more resonate with people, something that was more authentic, something that was more unique. When I look at blogs right now, they're great. They got so much different content, and it really appeals to a certain age group, a certain market of people. Because unfortunately, a lot of times today, even myself, I'm guilty of it as well. Don't like to read a lot of things unless it's something that spikes my interest. And I believe nowadays more people are more in tune spiritually with their higher self than they were 20 years ago, when I was more in I was always been on somewhat of a spiritual tip, as most people would say, even before I started my spiritual awakening. So, with that being said, Sun Vibe resurrected out of Saturday, and this show has really catapulted into something totally different than what I could ever expected, as far as providing you guys with not just my life experiences or reflecting on my journeys, but also about things that can help you mentally, spiritually, physically, emotionally, on a psycho spiritual level. And on today's episode of Sun Vibes, I'm just going to be talking to you there all over the world about what direction you want to into for this new year. Now, I know that a lot of people still have a lot of intentions or goals, whatever one you refer to, but I'll say intentions for the purpose of Sun Vibes, because it's more on a spiritual level. So, whatever attention that you put out there into the universe that you are trying to manifest for yourself or for your loved one, and you felt like last year was hitting the wall and you weren't able to really accomplish all the goals that you thought you was going to be able to accomplish, at least in a 6 to 12 month period. Okay, it didn't happen. You can take those same goals, those same intentions, and say, okay, if you don't want to write them down, you don't have to write them down. You can just speak it into existence. One of the things that I've been talking about all year long, last year especially, I talked about it for the past couple of years, but yes, last year, I believe I made very, very clear focus and intentions on really focusing on writing intention letters. And one of the things that I got out of 2022 that I have carried on to 2023 is really writing my intentions in the present tense, but writing it so that I already have it. So it's almost like a future type of thing where I'm speaking everything into existence. I don't care what trials and tribulations that may arise. I no longer feel the way that I felt beforehand, because I know a couple of years ago, even if I wrote an intention letter, if something negative happened and it was unexpected as well, oh my gosh, it would knock me off my whole focus. I didn't feel spiritually connected. My mood would change, my energy would change. I would become very anxious, intense, upset, frustrated, and it was hard for me to shake it off. And these feelings would last for days on end. And now, since I've spiritually evolved and ascended and I've grown so much, and I've healed a lot of things as well, and I'm still healing as a spiritual being living a human experience, I now, when something does happen, because things always happen behind the scenes with me that does not go well. I just make it look easy, but it was very challenging to deal with a lot of my stresses and your stresses as well. And it's all on how we cope with it, right? So you have to have good coping skills. You have to have things that's going to keep you grounded, whether you're um, grounded in your faith, whether you're grounded in whatever principles that keep you grounded. I talk about the self-mastery disciplinas, which I read every day. That keeps me grounded on, just life principles, whether you read the Bible, whether you pray every morning. I told you guys, when I go into the hospital to work, I go into a chapel, I write down my intentions, and that pretty much sets my day. And when I don't go to the hospital and I don't have to work there, I will actually meditate at home, set whatever intention it may be for that day and for the week as well. And I let it just sit there and don't worry about it. And I don't get frustrated or upset anymore when things don't move the way that I would like them to move, quote unquote. Because when you're a spiritual being living a human experience, you're under a different system now. You're not under the human system, you're under the divine system. So the divine timing works differently than our timing. And I believe I said this in one of my videos previously, that I actually created my website for my spiritual life coaching business the beginning of last year. And let me tell you guys, I was set to launch it. I had someone edit my blog, not blog, but bio. And when I got to the point of, tentatively setting days to launch, I noticed I didn't have pictures and I needed new fresh pictures. And I went through a couple of photographers that I saw on social media, but nothing really was speaking to my spirit until most recently. I believe it was in November. One of my colleagues at my job had suggested a young man to possibly be the photographer for the pictures for my new website. And during this time frame, and this is like from, I believe my website was pretty much finished or done by February, March of 2022. I went months, the rest of the year, without having a photographer, having pictures. And usually in these moments, I force them, I push them, I try to figure things out. And that's part of control as well. And this time I just let things flow and I let things go. And that's what you have to do with your attentions. You just have to say whatever attention it is and just let it flow and not worry about when it's going to happen, how it's going to happen. You don't need to know about the details. Just know that it will happen in the divine timing. Whether you're planning to buy a house, whether you're planning to start a family, yes, I understand as women and as human beings, period, we want to be able to say, okay, in 5 years, it's going to happen this way. And that's fine and dandy if you're not on a divine timing. But when you subscribe or pledge or give your life or spirituality, you make this commitment to yourself and the higher being, then you're on a totally different spiritual playing field than other people, because they haven't taken that time to really be emotionally vulnerable with themselves and want to spiritually ascend on that level. There's a lot of people who are Christians, and that's how they identify as, or Muslim, and that's how they identify it. That's what they identify as when it comes to their religion and what they practice. But when it becomes to their spirituality, because spirituality to me is your relationship between yourself and a higher being. When you do that and you understand starting to understand life and understand the thing behind the thing behind the thing, then you know that your spiritual timing is just much different than other people's. And if you can feel what I'm saying, you know what I'm talking about because you have been through some things in your life spiritually that you notice that the movement of your spiritual walk is different from your movement from other people's spiritual work, whether they're Christians or non-believers or believers or non-believers, because of the fact that you have make some kind of commitment and pledge to yourself and the universe of what you want to get done and complete when it comes to your relationship. So all the other things that you want to do follows right behind that. So I'm not telling you that you shouldn't pursue your goals and your aspirations. Yes, go ahead and pursue them. I tell people all the time I have a bachelor's degree, a master's degree, quite a few certifications as well. I'll probably go, more than likely, I'm not going to say go. I am going back to school to get another degree. So I'm a person who's very well educated, and I'm someone that has multiple degrees. However, at the same time, I also am a person that understands myself too. And can understand when I become emotionally unstable or I start to become anxious or worried about something that's completely out of my control. And a lot of things that go through life you think you have control over and it's completely out of your control. So when I understand that, I understand I need to take a step back. Just like with the website, I could have been like, no, I want to have it, but I just do that. I'm gonna get a photographer, and it would have came out all wrong and things would have been haphazardly versus me just waiting and just backing off the project and say, okay, let me work on X, Y, and Z. Because I had so many other things that the universe wanted me to work on this year. And then also too, I believe when we're working on different projects, career projects for ourselves, there's some transformation process that the universe wants us to go through as well as spiritual beings living a human experience. And one of the things I talked about a lot in 2022 is just really releasing control. And control for me, I thought I had it. I thought I didn't have, I thought I was doing well with control, but I really released a lot of control this year and just going with the flow of life and being more at peace where the universe has me. And then when things don't go the way that I expect, I'm like, okay, that's fine. And keep it moving. And I know the devil and the negativity, oh my gosh, people are so upset and hating on me because I don't allow things to get to me like I used to allow things to get to me because I've grown so much. And I believe as a spiritual being, you're supposed to grow, you're supposed to evolve. You shouldn't be the same person you were 5 years ago or even 5 months ago. You should have grown some way in some form. And if you're really, really working on yourself and you're really practicing all the things I've talked about throughout 2022, you will be able to feel it, you'll be able to sense it, you'll be able to start having these realization moments about yourself or these aha moments as well about yourself. Like, wow, like things are making more sense or things are coming together or the piece of the puzzle is finally starting to connect. And that's when you're knowing that you're spiritually growing, and then you start smelling and tasting and touching and feeling life in such a different way. Your vibrational energy is rising. You're experiencing life on a totally different level than most people in this human experience because their vibrational energy is too low or they're not open. They're not vibrating on those high levels. So they're not tuned in and tapped into what you can experience or what you can see and what you are witnessing. One of the things I talked about in the past is that this is like years ago when I worked at Monmouth Medical Center. Shout out to Monmouth Medical Center in Long Branch, New Jersey. So I worked there years ago, and I remember when I was working there, I was a psychiatric screener, which I still am. And I remember when I was driving, I'd go out to the community with the police, and I would always see at the time, and this is summertime, like every summer for like 3 years that I can remember, maybe even more, but I can remember 3 years, the number three is coming to mind, that I will always see Bentleys, and I wouldn't see like just a regular Bentley. I would see Bentleys in purple and blue and pink. Like I would see, and then there were Bentleys. Like these, where I would see so many Bentleys, I knew what a Bentley was. Like I knew exactly what the Bentley were, and I would see these cars all the time when I would drive in the community to go do mobile screenings to meet the police at the person's house, or I would go to the neighboring hospital to screen a patient in the emergency room. And I would come back into the office like hours later, and I would talk to my coworkers, typing up my cases, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, I always see Bentleys." And one of my coworkers was like, "I've never seen those things." And I couldn't understand why, because I said, "I'll see them all the time." And it wasn't just not Bentleys. I would see Maserati. I would see all these different type of luxury cars. The point that I'm making is that back then I was spiritually ascending. So I was seeing things and being able to come in contact with other people and in different scenarios than my colleagues could, because of their vibrational energy wasn't on the same level. And this is way before I became a spiritual life coach, because I was praying, I was meditating, I was doing things on a spiritual level that I didn't even understand at the time that lifted my vibrational energy level. So I would come in contact, or I would see things that other people wouldn't see, or I would be able to interact with other people that other people wouldn't be able to interact with, because of the fact that I was vibrating on such higher levels at the time. And when you understand life and you start understanding yourself and your journey home to yourself, it just makes things just much more easier. So this year, take some time out to really start understanding yourself. And if you go through a time in your healing process, in your journey, spiritual journey, that you get upset, you get worked up, yes, it has happened to me. I've got upset, I got worked up, I had these angry moments. And I have times in my spiritual journey that I wanted to give up. I wanted to throw in the towel, and I would say, "I'm throwing in the towel. I don't want to even be a part of this." Like, really serious stuff. And then the next morning, or even a couple of days later, someone said something, and whatever was said, it removed whatever negative energy or emotion that I may have felt at that time in that period. Or if I wanted to really do something, so I'm going to go do it. And I couldn't even figure out how to do the things that I said I was going to do negatively, because I had ascended so much as a positive person. I couldn't even figure out how to even go about doing X, Y, and Z. Something negative, like smoking marijuana or using drugs. I couldn't even figure out how to do it because I was so spiritually attuned to my higher self. And the universe gives us something that's called free will. So yeah, free will. We can go do whatever we want to do, because the universe gives us free will. It's up to us to make the choice whether we want to do it, want to continue to stay in the game and continue to press forward, which is a struggle. It's not impossible. It is challenging, but it's not impossible. I say to myself now, anything that I'm going through in this life is meant for me to go through it. It's already written in that book that I'm supposed to go through what I'm going through. So if it's written that I'm supposed to go through it, this struggle, this adversity, this trial and tribulation, this storm, then there's always a ram in the bush. There's always a solution. And I believe that God don't put us through anything for shits and giggles. There's, excuse my French, there's always a reason and a rhyme for everything that we go through. And us as spiritual beings, we have to continue to believe and continue to move forward and continue to have faith in ourselves, knowing that, and in the universe or God, whoever you speak or refer to that higher power as, then knowing that you're going to get through this, just like you got through all the other situations 5, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 10 years ago. Even if you have trauma, sexual abuse trauma or physical abuse trauma, anything, you're going to get through it. You didn't think you would be able to get through that traumatic experience, which was so wrong, and you feel like, God or the universe or your family, your friends turned your back on you and allowed for you to get into this uncompromised situation. You look at the people on television and you say to yourself, why can't your life be like that? Why couldn't you have that life? Well, listen, you don't know everything with the people that you see on television. I think we just need to kind of rewind for the past couple of years of all the people who are well famous and people who are well educated and successful, and they're committing suicide. And it seems like they have the world on the palm of their hand, and they don't, because you can't judge a book by its cover. You don't know what people are going through behind closed doors. You don't know what's going on in that family with that big mansion and house. Yes, it's nice to drive by the houses. I love driving by the houses, but I'm no longer to the point of driving by the houses like actually envying it and be like, oh, that's not fair, that's not right. Or actually like I'm gonna have that house. I'm gonna have that house. Like I no longer do that. And that's just where I'm at in my spiritual growth. And I'm not knocking you if that's where you're at. Okay, that's fine. But that's where I was at, and I'm no longer there. I'll look at a house and say, that's nice, that's fine. And it's beautiful to see that house. But what God has for me is for me, and what God has for someone else is for someone else. And that I keep it moving. It takes the pressure off my mind and my spirit for me to think that I want to have it. Because then when I start to do things like that, I become so preoccupied and perseverate over it, which is not good. That's stagnated energy. That energy is not going anywhere other than in circles. So I had to learn that for myself. So I do what's emotionally healthy for me, and where I'm at spiritually in my life is just being happy with what the universe has given me, happy of where I am at my life, and just being very thankful for all that God has done for me and all that He has done for me. And that's the blessing in itself, just showing a lot of gratitude and having this attitude of gratitude and having a mindset of abundance, no matter how low your bank account may be. There's people who have everything, like I just mentioned to you. There's people who have millions and millions and thousands of dollars in their bank account. They're never satisfied. They're greedy. They're selfish. They take advantage of other people as well. They're not always the most nicest and kindest person. Yeah, they're not. And they're always wanting more. They're never satisfied. And if you're that person, or you know someone like that, just reassess yourself. Just reassess your values. And or there's people who aren't greedy, but they have all this wealth and they're so depressed, and they don't feel like no one cares about them, even though they have people that care about them, and they're contemplating thoughts of suicide. Now, if you're one of those people that's contemplating thoughts of suicide, you need to call the National Suicide Hotline, which is 9888 or 911, or go to your local crisis center or screening center in your town, city, state. We have them all across the United States. I know they call different things in different states in the union, but there's always someone there that can help you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And they're never closed. They're located in hospitals. So if you feel as though you need that type of psychiatric help, and you need to be evaluated, and you need to talk to someone about your issues, you don't feel as though your issues are being addressed by your therapist or your psychiatrist that you see on an outpatient basis, or even like a case manager or your sponsor, someone that you are close connected with, or you feel like your family is going to judge you, then call 988. Call your local crisis center. A lot of times the crisis centers and screeners may not be able to talk to you as much as you would like to be talked to over the phone, because they are, it's just busy. I'm telling you, just basically, sometimes it gets a little hectic and busy if you just want to talk and you're not suicidal. But if you're suicidal and you need help, make sure you call that National Suicide Hotline and get the help that you need. And continue to be that beacon of light, continue to be that positive person. Even in those dark moments is when we have our greatest triumphant moments in our life. I know in my darkest moment was my most blessed time of my life. That's when I had my transformational moment, my spiritual awakening, and it usually happens at the darkest hours of our life, are the most transparative times of our life as well. So for 2025, 3, just make a commitment to yourself, make a commitment to the universe of what things you want to accomplish, what things you want to do. Make sure you write those attention letters as you already have it. And continue to watch Sun Vibes as well. I'm going to look forward to bringing you an episode of Sun Vibes each and every Wednesday night at 6 p.m. Eastern Time, along with USL Lifestyle, which will probably be changing the time to about 6:30 p.m. Starting in 2023, we'll have more information about that coming soon. And again, if you want more information about me becoming your spiritual life coach or color therapist, please email me, Ayasha, AYASHA, at urbansocializenj.com, and continue to watch all the episodes of Sun Vibes, where you get to discover your true authentic self at www.urbansocializenj.com, and make sure you follow our network show under our network, which is the USL Network on Instagram and also LinkedIn as well. Take care of you guys soon and see you on the next episode. Namaste.